I ran up a check, I might do it again. Enemies close, had me thinking they're friends. 10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took so many years, I'm just waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what, add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up, I'm just doing me.
Welcome to Millionaire Before 30, where we are on a mission.
You guys, we are on a mission, that is right. We have literally designed this show to give you guys the blueprint of how to become a millionaire before the age of 30 years old. I'm Ryan Zolin.
I'm Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, Mr. Talk to People. And as always, we got Albert Bowie over here.
What's going on?
That's right, Albert. And we have an incredible guest for everybody today. Yep. This story is going to blow your face off. We're going to talk. We're going to go through this whole story. We're going to pick it apart, really understand what is going on with our incredible guest, and that is Andrew Abernathey. How are you, Andrew?
I'm good. Excited to be here. Appreciate it.
That is awesome. So, guys, for the first, 20, 30 minutes, we're going to go through Andrew's story. We're going to really understand what's going on inside the mind of this incredible business owner. And it's going to be great. And then we're going to open it up to you for questions. So remember, this show does not happen without you. So make sure that you put in the comment section any questions that pops up. Also, we are here to ring the victory bell and to celebrate whatever successes you've had. If you've gone on your first appointment, if you've locked up your first deal, if you've gotten paid, we want to celebrate you. We want to know. And by the way, be selfish with it a little bit, right? You go and close a deal and you let everybody know where you're doing business. Everybody else on here watching wants to squad up with you. So be brave and share your success with all of us. All right? Let's get into this. Andrew,
Let's do it.
First of all, how long have you been on this planet? How old are you?
I'm 28 as of yesterday. So.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy birthday, everybody.
Getting
Give him a
old.
happy birthday. 28 years old.
Yeah.
When did you start your entrepreneurial journey?
I was always, and even like young, selling stuff to my siblings. I'd take stuff from one and sell something to the other. I was like 5, so like I've always got the bug early. But, when I was 10 years old, my dad really knew that I loved it. I had a knack for it. So he's like, run combine, grain cart, North Dakota farming, which is where I grew up, to kind of give some context there. $5 an hour running grain cart, 12-hour days. Saved up $6,000, but I spent $2,000 on a red go-kart. I mean, can you blame me?
Okay.
How old are you here?
That was about 12 to 13. I finally had the $4,000 from 10 to then. And then, so after I splurged on that go-kart, I had $4,000 left. And I had the stock market was crashing. This was 2009. I was about 14. The bottom of the market was, I think, early March of 2009. My birthday, March 23rd.
Yep.
I had my dad. I'm like, hey, can you open a brokerage account for me? Because I'm not old enough. And he's like, yeah, sounds good. So I gave him $4,000, and I'm like, well, Ford's 99 cents, and I've heard of that. Bank of America's $3. Yeah, I've heard of that. Just dumb, like irrelevance. Didn't know anything. So I threw it in, and that $4,000 quickly turned to $80,000 when I was 16.
$80,000 at 16 years
old.
So you were like playing in the stock. How did you know to play in the stock market? How do was it something that, are you at the dinner table and you're with your family and you're discussing like what's going on in the market, discussing what's going on with commodities, what's going on with real estate and interest rates and inflation? Or was it just like you were just, this looks like a good place to put money. I've heard of the stock market. Let's do it. Like, how does that happen to somebody that young?
Yeah, my dad. So we have about 300,000 to 400,000 bushels of grain at all time on the farm, and the commodity market. So Dad knew I loved numbers, right? So he's like, Andrew, because I was like 11 or 10, on top of grain cart, on top of all that. He's like, you can market the grain, puts, calls, futures, all that stuff. So I was 11 years old doing that, getting paid $5 an hour. I thought I was doing it on my own. Obviously, he was looking at everything I was sending before it was submitted, but I felt good. So I knew the commodity market. And so when I got to $4,000 and I was doing the commodity stuff, of course, the market was crashing. I'm like, what is this market, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know commodities, what are these stocks, right? So that's kind of where I saw it, got involved, invested in stuff I knew of brand-wise, and then Warren Buffett became my idol right when I invested. So parallel from 14 to 16, when that money was being created in the market, that was when I actually started educating myself parallel to that growth.
Awesome.
And how old were you then?
14 to 16 is when it went from 4,000 to 80,000.
So the 80,000, what'd you do with the 80,000?
Yeah, so that was when. So I had a lot of different things going parallel. So my brother and I started farming and when I was in 10th grade. So we took over my grandpa's land and we started farming, and then we started taking my
In North Dakota.
Yep.
Like
Right by
almost Canada, right?
Yeah. And so we started taking their equipment to South Dakota and did some custom combining, just to get the equipment going, make some money, and then we got it back for our harvest. But anyways, it was a rainy day one time, and there was a bunch of us guys, because we call the equipment down and all these workers, and we're in this one-bedroom apartment on air mattress, just a bunch of stinky dudes, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, 10th grade roughly, and the market was doing well. It was like 60 to 70 at this time, almost 80,000 in value.
Yep.
And I'm like, I really want to get into real estate. I want to get something I have control over and something I can leverage. And farmland we were already doing. The returns are a little lower. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to bring our family down a diversified path.
Yeah.
So that's when we were driving back through Bismarck, our capital in North Dakota, back to the farm. And I saw this apartment for sale. It was a 16-plex, 2 buildings, eight in each. Nice old couple owned it, selling it. They were heading to Seattle with their kids. They're going to retire. And I'm just like, yeah, I want to buy that. So I put an offer in. 1.25.
At 16 years old.
$1.25 million. And I put 20,000 of my 80 down because I cashed out. And it was non-refundable. So if I couldn't go home and figure this out, that 20 grand's gone. More than, 20, 30% of my net worth.
Yeah.
So I go back home to our town of 800. And I go into the bank. And my buddy's dad is a banker in this small town. I'm like, hey, I won't say his name, but I'm like, hey, Jeff, whatever his name is, make it up. I need 1.25 million. Here's 80 grand down. Yeah, no, Andrew, that's not gonna happen. I'm like, okay, well, okay.
You need to put a little bit more down.
Yeah.
You need to put more
he
down.
did pause for a bit, though. I'm like, oh, I got him. He's like, no. I'm like, okay. So what do I need? He's like, all right, you need another 300 grand down, and you're gonna need a balance sheet. I mean, we need some worthwhile PGs on this thing, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So I go back to the house, and I'm just like, all right. So I just got my permit. Got this beat up Lumina, 1991.
Beautiful.
Sitting there. My mom's from Crosby, and it's the western, northern corner of North Dakota. Oil boom was already started out there, okay? And my mom, I met someone at the lake we go to that was from out there, and I heard that his family had some oil, but he was that older guy that always talked to me. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to go talk to him. So I jumped in the Lumina, drove an hour and a half to Crosby. And I'm like, hey, whatever his name is, make it up, and I need 300 grand. And I will put in my 80, will be pro rata share. And if I lose 80, the first gone's mine.
Yeah.
So, and no management fees, I'll do it for free. I just need to prove myself. I need to prove a track record. How do you say no to that? It's a hard asset. It's in a good city. The first 80 grand that's lost is mine. So there's a pretty good cushion, and it's free.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, sounds good. Here you go. So I go back to that.
And you raise money.
Yeah, so I go
At
back.
16.
Yeah, and
16 years old.
so then I go back to the banker 2 days later, and he's like, okay. So he wrote it up. We bought them. But the funny thing is, I couldn't afford the lawyer because I spent all my money on the property to draw these contracts up. So I went and printed off Warren Buffett's original 1956 agreements and just whited the names out and put his name in there. And I'm like, here, just sign here.
Off the internet.
Yeah, you can just Google that. So I was the brokest, richest, cash-wise, was broke as crap, 16-year-old ever. Wow. Yeah.
So you bought the apartments.
We did, yeah.
Did you have to fix them up? Did you have to put money into them? Were they pretty well rented? Was it?
Yeah, so, oil boom hit. So they were getting $200, $200 to $300 a unit, 2 bedrooms each, 16 units. We did some carpets and stuff, nothing too much. Basically, the rents came in, paid the mortgage, and what was left, I put into them.
Yeah.
But in 16 months, the rents were at $800, $900 a unit because oil boom hit.
Yep.
And the city came to me and said, hey, can we buy those for $2 million? We're going to tear it down and add on to the school next door. And I said, yeah, sounds good. So I sold them. After paying the mortgage off, there was $1 million net. And I went to this investor. I'm like, hey, this is your, I think it was like 700 or 800 of it was his, and mine was like 100 or 200. And he's like, Andrew, that was amazing. You keep 300,000 of it, and my 700 that's left, I want you to invest it. But you can charge me this time. Oh, okay. So that's
charge you what?
Yeah, that's I didn't know what that meant, but I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, sounds good. So then I went home again, and I'm like, well, shit, now I got $1 million. 300's mine.
And how old are you?
It's like
18?
18, yeah.
Right.
Gonna head to college.
Yeah.
And I was still farming. I'm sitting there just like a farm boy in my hat. I wore a hat every day. I looked a lot different then. It's pretty funny. I'll show you some photos, like a side-by-side here.
Yeah.
But, so that's when, if you have any questions, there's a next chunk of the story now coming, but I don't need to jump into it.
Well, the interesting thing, and I'm just, in my head, I'm going, okay, what gives a 16-year-old the confidence to go into a bank and sit in front of a banker? There's 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds, maybe 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds watching the show right now that are scared to walk into a bank and ask for money.
Yeah.
Right? So how did you have the confidence to do that? And if you were to give advice to people for raising funds, what would it be? What is it? Is it having skin in the game? Is it having, showing that you're going to put this money in as well, and so it minimizes the risk? Like what's the secret sauce there? You know what I mean?
Well, the first question I want to ask is the confidence. And I don't know the exact answer to that, but my parents were really good at, you're independent. I'm okay if you fail. They let us fail. They let us do things. They let us, and it wasn't, when I did something amazing, it wasn't like, oh my God, you're so amazing. It was just like, okay, yeah, that is expected. And not in a bad way. It was just like, yeah, sounds good. Like, hey, Dad, I made $1 million. So that's great. That's always the hardest. Next one will be good too. Like, okay, I love you too. And they're best parents in the world.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I don't know if it came from that, but when I was 14 years old, I asked my dad if I could go out to Rehoboth Beach in Delaware in the summers and live to work at a Chinese restaurant and bed and breakfast to learn different cultures. He's like, sounds good. So he sends me out. I spent 2 months or 2 summers there, and I was living with the senior vice president of National Fidelity Title. He's on my board now.
Yeah.
It's a buddy of my uncle's, and he lives in Manhattan. So I don't know if that was part of it. When I went out there, all my friends were 50 to 80.
Because your family has been farming since
1904.
1904,
Wow.
right? So they've done well, and they understand business, and I assume that financial literacy bled over to you and really influenced you in a lot of ways.
Real estate's in the blood.
Did they give you a bunch of funds to start?
No, none.
Just the $5 an hour that you got farming.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
and that was the money that you put into the market and made 80.
Yep, that was my seed.
Going.
And then I went to my dad was the first one I asked after I needed the 300 from the bank, and he's just like, no, you.
At any time did they go, listen, we need your dad to co-sign, or we're not going to invest with you?
They need dad or someone, and that's where I had to go get an investor and convince him not only give me money but co-sign, and that was at PG. So that was that investor. Because I asked my dad first, and he just said, I want you to do that. You need to prove yourself before I even get involved. So that's why I went to Crosby.
So Crosby, the oil guy, was your personal guarantee.
Yeah, personal guarantee.
That's what he means by PG.
Yeah, sorry, yes. And then what was the other question? I thought there was a second part to it.
So having the confidence and getting into that and
raising money
and sitting in front of somebody and asking them for money, and then also, is it your own investment that you have proven that you've made some money at a young age, that you're like, listen, I will put my own money in here, but I need some, you're not just going there like, I don't have any track record and I have no money. Will you give me some?
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think there's a lot of different ways you can do this, right? Like what I'm about to say isn't the only way,
right?
But what I think is somewhat of the secret sauce is when I go in to raise money, even today, it's the energy, it's the excitement.
Yes.
It is here we are today. Here's where I want to be, and here's how I'm going to do it. It's a realistic goal. It's an exciting goal. There's energy. There's a plan, a realistic plan.
Is there a lot of research going on there?
Yes, I nerd out in front of my investors,
you
right?
Do.
I'm just like, this is, it's funny. They're just like, I don't know what you're saying, but I like it. You know what I mean? I like that you know this.
Yeah.
So I think energy, excitement, plan, all that's great. Skin in the game, I went to my first guy with 80,000, and I'm just like, hey, I will be the one to lose my money first. I don't want to be paid. I need to prove myself, right? So don't go into your first guy saying, I want all your money, and we lose money equally, and you're going to pay me a bunch. No, build a track record. And that's what I did. And then the next part of the story is when I started getting paid, which was going into college.
So let's go.
Let's go. All right, here we are.
So now you're 18?
So there I was.
Yeah. Fresh face, stars in your eyes.
Yes, going to Hollywood, whatever. I was kidding.
$300,000 in the bank.
Heading to Fargo, North Dakota for college.
Yeah.
So they're back on my Lumina. I think I had a pickup at the time. I really
there you
got
go.
a nice vehicle. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
There you go.
Anyway, so I'm off to college. I had $1 million. We just cashed out. $300,000 was mine. 700 grand was the other guy's. And he says, I would like to pay you. We should set this up. I'm like, oh my God, okay. Well, I knew a lot more at this time. Remember, I'm studying parallel, so I'm not that smart, but I'm smarter than I was when I was 14. And then
Sure.
I'm smarter now than I was then, but I'm still not that smart. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always get smarter.
Yep.
So I went to my family attorney. So Minot, North Dakota is the closest city next to our small town.
And
And
your town has 800 people?
the one I grew up in was actually 100. There was 12 in our school. My mom was a teacher, little house on the prairie kind of.
Oh my
I have
gosh.
6 siblings, so I'm one of 6.
Yeah.
But then all these schools came together and created MLS, Mohall, like 3 schools.
Yeah.
And then sports were like MLS, GBKB or something. It's like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
5 schools. Anyways, so I'm going through Minot to go to Fargo for college. And that's where our family lawyer's at. And I've always brought him all my ideas since I was a kid. I want to do this. He's like, okay, well, I'll draw this up. He was always so sweet.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I go in there and I'm like, on the way there, I'm like, what am I going to raise? What's my goal? And on the way there, I'm thinking, like, So I sit down at his office on the way to Fargo. I'm like, hey, I would like to raise $10 million. And I would like you to create whatever it needs to be created. And I want to get paid, whatever normal is. And he's like, Andrew, like, this is not for me. This isn't within my license or my knowledge, right, as a lawyer. So he's like, but I know a guy. So he pulls out his black book, legit paper black book, and he goes through, and I remember this, at his desk. He's like, right here. This guy here is in Fargo, North Dakota, where you're going to college. He's a security. He's one of the best in the Midwest, big firm. I'm going to give him a call and tell him you're coming. I was okay. So he calls him up, and I'm in front of him. He's like, can I send him down? He's like, yep. So I drive 4 hours, which is to college, and I sit down in this ivory tower building for Fargo. And this guy thinks I'm freaking nuts because I tell him the same thing. I want to raise $10 million. He's like, well, you know, what do you want to do for management fees and carries and waterfalls? I'm like, glazed. I'm like, I don't know, whatever, normal, I guess. He's like, well, 220, so 2% management fee annually on what you raise and a 20% cut of the profits is pretty generic. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And like, here's $1 million, and I want to go do 10. So he created my first PPM, private placement memorandum, about 80 pages long. It was $12,000. That puckered me up, and that was what I could. Then I went and I went back to the farm. It was raining because I was in college and farming still, so it was raining out. So I'm like, all right, well, I got this beautiful PPM and some chicken scratch, and I started driving around. And I'm like, timing's everything, right? So I'm like, what's been really good? Well, farming has been the best it's been in a century, the last 7 years at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all these farmers, they got something, right? So I go and we had a deal where it's a minimum of 4 shares. At the time, they were 50,000 at this time. When Jeff got in, the investor was like 30. So it was a $200,000 minimum investment. But in the clause, it said I had the right to accept less. So I'd knock on these doors, and I would start off by saying, these farmers' doors. You know, there's a farm every 5 miles. So I would just start knocking on farmers' doors. I'd do 10 a day.
Door knocking.
And they knew the
cold door
family,
knocking,
but,
right.
you know, it's like, what's the shit? Like, you know. So we go and knock on my first door, and I'm like, hey, I'm doing this. Here's what I've done.
What are you going to buy with it?
It's a blind pool. It's just like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I need $10 million. I'm going to go do it. Here's my track record. Stock market and a real estate. It's probably going to be something with real estate or companies.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you should throw in $500,000. And they're like, what shit? And every time, but then when they got down to 100,000, it sounded cheap.
Yeah.
So every one of them threw in like 100 or 200 grand, every one of them. So every day I'd knock on 10 doors and I'd get $1 million a day. So after a month or two, I had 10 million raised.
And then what'd you do?
And then I went and we bought an equipment dealership, Norman Equipment. That was out of Great Falls. We bought some real estate in Fargo. We bought an insurance company that's now actually publicly traded on NASDAQ in Alabama. We just started kind of acquiring stuff. And I had a helicopter company at once. We were owners in it, which that one didn't go well. That's actually a good story. I want to bring a story up here.
Yeah.
So, yes, raised the 10 million. Then I went and raised another 10 million. So between that time, from zero raised to 3-4 years ago, I had about 30 million raised total. And then in the last few years, it's really taken off. So total, we've raised.
Well, when did you make a cold call?
Oh yeah, that's okay. You're right.
Because listen,
that's a good one.
Listen, here's the deal. This is all everything that the story that Andrew's talking about is all coming down to having a quality conversation, right? And whether it is finding discounted property or whether it's raising funds, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be proactive. That's what I'm getting from this story. Is like you were just going around, you were door knocking. There's people that knew, and they were probably booming in their business, didn't know exactly where to put the money, and it was the perfect opportunity for you to raise it and then go do something with it, right?
Correct.
So, and then you decide you read a newspaper article or something?
Yeah. So this was just context. I was probably 20. So this is probably when I had about 20 million raised. 'Cause remember, I started raising pretty heavily at 18. So I'm laying in bed. I'm in Fargo. I bought a house there to rent out to my buddies. So I get up to my little tiny office in the corner, pretty cute. And I get this article from my uncle from Manhattan. He's like, do you know this guy? It's some 60-some-year-old billionaire in North Dakota. I'm like, how don't I know about this? So I went and I made the list of the top 10 wealthiest people in North Dakota. It gave me that idea to do that. He was obviously on the top.
Yeah.
I called every one of them. So
How'd you get their number?
I just called their office.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nobody called me back. But the story with the top one, the most important one, Gary Tharaldson, I said, I just called the office and cold called. No one from Adam. She's like, hello. I'm like, hey, this is Andrew. I just wanted to see if Gary Tharaldson was around. She's like, oh, no, he's not here. He's in Vegas. But I'm like, oh, can I leave my name and number? And she's like, yeah. So Andrew Abernathey, here's my number. I just want to learn from you. That's all it was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy's never called me back.
Right.
Yeah, right? Like, it was whatever. So 2 months later, I get this call on my phone. And it was a Vegas number. So I'm like, this is going to be a telemark. I'm about to cuss the guy out and say, take me off your list. But before I can swear or say get anything mad, it's like, this is Gary Tharaldson, like an old man. And I'm like, Gary. Oh, Gary. Hey, Gary. So we talked for 45 minutes.
A billionaire.
Yes, just called me. He actually called me back. 45 minutes.
It's amazing what happens when you just reach out.
Yeah. Nobody else called me back, by the way. It's a volume game. So I'm not saying call one.
It's
call like
always
500.
a volume game.
Yes, all volume. So we talked forever. He came back to Fargo. We started having pie at the Village Inn every week or two. And then I asked, yeah, you want to invest in me after like a year? He's like, no. Okay. So we kept being a mentor-mentee relationship.
Yep.
And then parallel to this now, right?
Were you paying him to be a mentor?
No, just
Right.
I bought the pie every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know.
There you go.
So we were
Crazy. Right?
It's too easy.
No, but
It's too easy.
yeah. He loved his pie. Yeah, we went on the half pie day. I don't want to splurge on
you know about these
half
things?
off.
Midwest,
Yeah, see,
okay.
there we have it. Love it. So again, there's a lot of parallel things moving, so I want to make sure I kind of keep context. So that was from 20 to now we've been mentors, right? So let's just kind of work on the past. So while he's my mentor, I'm growing the business parallel, raising money, buying all these things, really trying to figure out who I am. When you start in business, you play other people's songs on the piano until you learn what your song is going to be. So then you can play your own music.
I love that.
So at the time, I was playing everybody else's song. I was playing Warren Buffett's song. I was playing, my dad. I was just trying to figure out what I could do, what the notes I wanted to be in my song were. So everything was good. Everything I got into, I actually made money, which half of it was kind of crazy, like fate. But finally, I bought into this helicopter company with 15% of our portfolio. And I bought in at $10 a share. It was undervalued, a Warren Buffett play. And it went to 20. We sold. We made $1 million profit. Yippee, right? Great. Oh, but there's more. So then the stock drops to 12 after we sold.
Yeah.
Like, well, same company, Warren Buffett, same thing. So I put $1 million in. Then it drops again to 10, put another $1 million in. Then it drops to 8, put another $1 million in. And then it drops to 5, and the CEO leaves, and one of the old Enron execs comes in, and before the news is even released, it drops to 3. So now I'm like, well, I either just stay in or I make a loss. I'm like, well, I'm going to stay in because the numbers were there. It all makes sense. Then they found out that there was financially reporting was wrong. And so there was a big lawsuit. It went Chapter 7. Chapter 7 gave all the equity to the debtors. And I actually sued them. We were the lead plaintiff. So we went and sued a $6 billion company, Abernathey Holdings. We won. But you win and you get still like 10 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
But we did win.
Yeah.
And they're probably hopefully in jail. I don't know. But anyways, it was a loss. So I'm sitting there with Gary. I'm like, Gary, I got I don't know if I can swear, my ass kicked. And he's like, Andrew, this was the hardest information I got. It really hurt, but it was the best. He said, Andrew, you're good at a lot of things, but you're really not great at anything. So he said, ouch, dagger. Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
So anyways, that was when I wanted to do a more focused model. And sadly, I had to get kicked in the butt to do it. But again, we lost 15% of the portfolio. So it wasn't like it was a game over. It was just like my first loss. I mean, we went from, $30,000 a share to $70,000 a share like that. And then this brought us down to like 55, 60. And it hurt because it was a first loss. So
And real quick, what's the value of your shares now?
300,000. Yeah. So they're doing
How
good.
many do you have?
I have 200.
Okay.
Yeah. My wife and I, 50. Yeah. She probably has 101 of them.
So what does that equal to?
What, about 60 million today? Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. I should just sell. I'm just kidding. So yeah, but Gary's story, I think that would bring some good context to the next part. So Gary's story, just as quickly, is in the 80s, he found a fragmented industry, which is hotels. Bob's Hotel, Jeff's Hotel.
Yeah.
Marriott's and stuff weren't big yet. So he came in, he was a school teacher selling insurance door to door, nervous they'd answer because he hated it, until he was 39. And he's a billionaire at 60, so his story is amazing. But anyways, just to synopsis, if that's the right word.
Yep.
I'm not really good at English. But anyways, he went and was building hotels, and he owned the process. He owned the construction. He was the realtor. So if the hotel was $1.5 million, the bank needed $300,000, he would just forfeit his money, and they would finance 100% of it. So it wasn't about money. It was about how fast you can build them.
Yep.
So he was in the 80s, or the late 80s, early 90s, he was opening a new hotel every 8 days.
Wow.
He was the largest hotel developer for a couple of years, but he was within the top 5 every year.
Because he owned the whole process.
Owned it all. And he went and used Marriott brands. So he was one of the first ones to value the brand.
Sure.
And that was what set him apart. Now, he went and built 250 of them and kept them. No investors. Wow. Him and banks, which you can't do that nowadays. That was awesome. I mean, maybe you can. I shouldn't say you can't. Never say never. Yeah. But 250, in 06, Goldman Sachs calls him and pays him $2 billion for them.
Yep.
Sells them.
Yep.
Then the recession hit.
Yep.
Perfect timing.
Yep.
So the point of the story is you can see focus, vertical integration, which John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, if you look at all the greats, all of them have vertical integration. I'm not saying it's the only way, but for me, I find it to be the best way. So I'm sitting there thinking, well, gosh, you're right, Gary, I do suck. So I went and I'm like, all right, well, I know I want to be in real estate. It's in my blood. Every time I've done real estate, I win.
Yeah.
The only time I've lost was this stock thing.
Yep.
I'm not Warren Buffett, I'm Andrew Abernathey. That's what I told myself. I need to make my own song. And that was in 2017, 16, so I would have been, I don't know, 23-ish, 24. So we were doing well still. We had all this money in the fund. So I sold everything off that didn't make sense because I went to Gary. I'm like, all right, Gary, like, how about this real estate? How about this? 'Cause it's not just real estate. I needed a piece of real estate. Like he had hotels. I needed something.
A niche.
Yep. And I also don't think, everybody's like, oh, I wish I could find the idea. I hate that. There is no the idea. You take all the ideas, you just pick one up, shine it up, and that's your idea. Any idea can be the idea if you focus on it.
And for those that don't know VID?
What's that?
Idea.
Idea. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, idea. So, exactly. So if you come in and do it, I just think anything that you focus on, not anything, but there's many ideas out there. Just take one and focus and make it the idea.
And now your idea is?
Yes. So
because we got to get to questions because I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of questions.
Self-storage.
Self-storage.
So we did the same thing in self-storage. We took it. We have our equipment dealership. We have a garage door. We're our construction company. We just bought a sign company. And we're able to build them for 10 to 15% less. And public storage is the Marriott of storage. They started allowing people to use their brand that wasn't them 5 years ago. I was first in line. And now it's a big deal. But still, 5% of storage in the U.S. still is only by the REITs. 95% is ma and pa owned. If you want to make money, find a fragmented industry and consolidate it. And that's what I'm doing in storage. I'm making storage beautiful. I'm owning the process. And we will be the largest self-storage developers and owners in the world. That's my goal, and that's what we're working towards.
Awesome.
What a story. Wow. Andrew, that is incredible. I want to take it back really fast. Just you started all this at a young age, and I think Brent was talking about it a little bit at the beginning. There obviously had to be like some kind of mindset shift being 10 to 13 to 16 to 18, 20, going through all the success and big numbers.
Yep.
Was there any point that like you were just like, is this even real? Are these numbers even real? Like, or was it always just this driven mentality of I know what I'm trying to do and I'm going to accomplish it somehow?
Yeah, they were always dumb. You put a few more zeros and stuff, and it was never liquid to me. And so I've never been like cash rich. So like my life is really not any different than anybody else's. So I think that's helped me. Okay. So like this is all paper, so that helps when it comes to just like mentality. But I think the biggest thing for me was when, because there's 2 points. One is I was farming full time until 2014 and doing this parallel. So the hardest thing for me was to go to my dad and say, Dad, I don't want to farm. Like if you're a farm boy, that's just what you do. So that was really hard. And everybody in the area thought I was crazy leaving that. So my brother and I are 50-50 in that. That was the deal we made, and I left. But that was really hard, and I'm glad I did it, but that was scary. And then the second time was when this helicopter company crashed, and this happened, the first loss, and everybody like was mad about it. I remember just sitting on my knees. It happened at Thanksgiving, just white as a ghost, and just thinking like, okay, like, I could sit here and just whine and cry, or I could stand up, come back, and make a story out of this.
Yeah.
So I did the right thing, but yeah, that was a tough moment. So.
Let's crack this thing open. Let's let these questions breathe. Let's guys, what questions do you have for Andrew? Albert, do you have anything? Think of some things. I know that you're Ryan rocking the glasses. That's right. Yeah. I know. I said he's looking really proper today, No backwards hat, just looking great. Look at this guy.
Do it for the people.
That's right. That's right. Teresa, so inspiring. Almost puts me to shame if a 16-year-old can confidently doing it. Me at my big age of 26 can do the same. Absolutely. That's why Andrew's here. Absolutely. Listen, you're following in the footsteps of a lot of different people to be able to build your own song, right?
Yeah. No,
it takes time. You have to follow that path until you get to the point where you have enough experience and expertise to be able to start making some big decisions. Isn't that right?
Yeah, I'm standing on the shoulders of the giants before me, right? So I can see a little farther. And the giants before me is the lessons I've learned from prior success stories, the Rockefellers. If you went into Elon Musk's dorm room before he was really successful, it was filled with biographies. Every successful person I know drools over biographies
100%.
because you don't need to recreate the wheel.
Yep. Love it.
Wow.
Yep. So we have a lot of people on the in the audience that are going after their first real estate deals. They're starting to build the momentum. Let's put up. Is it sticking a little bit? Yeah. The comments are sticking a little bit, guys. So just bear with us there. But the blueprint, right? The Millionaire Before 30 blueprint. Put that up. Is first just do a deal. Just do a deal. Andrew's first deal was putting $4,000 into the stock market, right? And then your first real big deal was going and raising funds to buy an apartment complex, right? But you had some money to put in there, and you had that energy behind it.
Yes.
Right?
Positive energy.
If you would have gone with no confidence and kind of putting your head down and like, I really want to get this done, nobody's going to give you money.
They'll see right through it.
Nobody's going to have confidence in you. So you got to do the deal to build your confidence. Do something to build your confidence, and then
going full-time in the business. So what Brent mentioned with doing a deal is also having proof of concept. It's building that confidence and understanding that what you're trying to attain is actually possible. Doesn't matter what it is to get the deal done, but once you're able to transition and go full-time in the business, having more time to be able to do it should be able to lead to more quantity of success and more opportunities that are presented themselves to you.
That's right. Kill the debt. Don't be somebody else's ROI. Consumer debt will cripple your growth, right? Just stay humble with it. Don't go out and buy things that you can't afford just to impress people. Keep that down. It's going to happen. It's going to take time to build up.
This was $2 at a rummage sale. So
That's what
we're talking about.
value.
Good shirt.
Yeah, I love it. Where'd you get that shirt? I'm like, rummage sale.
And then from there, you invest in assets. So you want to buy the shirts, you want to buy the watches, the cars. Let yourself first take care of the debt. Invest into assets. Let the assets create cash flow, and the cash flow pays for what you want to do. That obviously leads to our fifth and final step, which we are all trying to achieve, which is
financial freedom, which basically equals that is control. Control over the time you have left on this planet. Boom.
Love it.
You know what I think it is? We've done enough shows to where I'm starting to find a pattern between people that take massive action at a young age. And I feel like it's ignorance is a bliss, right? When you're 16, you don't know really societal norms. You don't just go into a bank and ask for a million. You just don't care. You just do it because you're 16. You're still learning the world, and you don't know any better that, I shouldn't be doing this yet. But once you do it, suddenly people say yes, and you stopped overthinking it because you didn't even think about it to begin with.
You hit that right in the head.
And then massive action goes from there.
Yep.
Rob, I've closed $30K worth of deals in the most competitive market in 1 month. Rob, we celebrate
Let's
you.
go.
Congratulations, Rob.
Good stuff.
That's what we're talking about, Rob. Congratulations. I love that. 30K worth of deals. That turns into 300K. Stay focused. Stay focused. That is incredible. Thank you. I'm looking to scale my business at age 21. Any advice on what to do now with my 30K in my account?
Man, good question. Start that one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a lot of avenues, right? We're talking real estate, stocks, whatever it might be. So, I mean, I'm a real estate guy, so I would say that 30,000 is similar to my 80,000 that I had. I'd say go out there, confidence, raise some money, tell them your 30,000 is the first thing that you can lose, and do exactly what I did and get into some real estate. Now, again, I know that's a broad term, but that's a whole nother conversation. But that just example of a starting point.
Love it.
For sure. Yeah. For me, it just obviously. Oh, good. You want to jump over that one?
The Novice Wanderer. There are no deals anymore.
No.
All properties are overpriced.
Not with that attitude.
Well, listen, I understand where he's coming from. I completely understand. Yet this is the greatest year that we've ever had.
Absolutely.
You?
Without a doubt.
I think people are also confusing the inflation and value because remember, it's in U.S. dollars. So if the dollar devalues, it's down 96% since the early 30s. So really, is it the value more? Is it the properties are overvalued, or is it just our dollars becoming worthless? I think that's a confusion.
Well, and I think that also you find what you're looking for. You know what I mean? If you think that there's no deals out there, that's what you're going to find. You're going to find no deals.
I'm still doing deals.
Yeah.
All of us.
No, I mean, have confidence. There are deals out there. It just takes time, and it takes just that consistency. And and you have to keep positive things coming in your brain at all times. When you're driving alone in the car, listening to great audibles, listen to great podcasts, listen to the show, whatever it is, it is all important. Just get surrounded by optimism. I'm telling you, and we can show you facts here. Novice Wanderer, but there's 11 million vacant single-family properties based on the 2020 census.
Nope.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just lazy. Been doing this for a while. I lost my eye of the tiger and want deals with minimal effort rather than spend money. I guess I'm in a rut. That's right. So, listen, now you're out of the rut.
Yep.
That's how it happens. Literally. Like, go out there and just start having quality conversations, and you will win. So you got it. You know that. You know what to do.
Today's your day.
Yep, that's right. Here it is. Here's the. Can we put that up right there? If you look at fourth quarter 2020 and you go to vacant, it's the fifth one down there. And you go year-round vacants. Almost 12 million properties. That's not thousands. You got to add 3 zeros to that. All right. That's almost 12 million vacant single-family houses in this country as of 2020.
That's amazing.
I'm telling you.
There's opportunities.
There are so
everywhere.
many opportunities. You got this. If the day that you drive around your community, your city, and there's not an ugly house is the day there's no more deals.
Right.
It's not going to happen. Utopia is not going to happen. All right. Eric, what's your favorite way to find deals? We'll just go down the line. Why don't you start and then...
Yeah. Obviously, ours is MLS, so we love finding the on-market opportunities. What I always teach is that the hardest part of being an investor is finding the deals, so why not go to the place where people are already willing to sell their home? Obviously, we like to leverage being licensed as well, where we can get the commission to maximize our profit.
I agree. I mean, I'm pretty simple. Like, I love giving bonuses to brokers and realtors that bring me deals. It's a market where everybody wants the deals.
You overpay them?
Yeah, I overpay. I'll overpay
Why would you do that?
I know, I'm crazy. I'll overpay for land and I'll overpay for brokers because deal flow and location are two very important things. Never, ever cheap out on either of those two things.
Really? Mm-hmm. Is that only if you have a bunch of money?
Nope.
So how do you do that without a bunch of money?
It's relative. So, like, if you're looking for, it's all relative, right? Like, so I pay $50,000 bonuses per lots, but my builds are $12 million each. So if you're doing a $120,000 deal, for example, maybe say I'll give you $5,000. Now I know it's not as great, but
if you were in our business, let's play this game. This will be fun. If you were in our business and you had to go out there and you had to lock up off-market or on-market properties, but they had to be ugly houses that you were going to flip, right? You're going to flip these and you're going to make a profit, or you're going to take these and you're going to put them under contract. You're going to sell it to your buddies, and you're going to make the arbitrage. What we call it assignment fees. You call it arbitrage. It's the in between, right? You lock it up for 100, you sell it for 120.
Correct.
How would you go about having people find and send you deals?
Yeah, and this is if you're having an issue. If you're not having any issues and you're getting the great deals and you have more deals than you need, don't pay anybody extra. But if you're not getting the right deals, or you're not their first call, or you're not getting enough, why not throw an extra $5,000 or whatever it might be, a certain pro rata share of that price to incentivize people? Incentivize people. They'll do exactly.
So you would, things. If I were to say, okay, listen, I'm going to drop you in wherever. I'm going to drop you in.
Usually my go-to is North Dakota, but I feel like that's kind of a
that's too easy for him. That's too easy. Let's go Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Boy, yeah.
And you have to go and you have to get like 10 deals as quick as possible. How would you,
In your
just
business?
single family, yes, in single family properties, right? How would you go about it?
I'd go to one of the best brokers there and say, I'll give you, if you can find me 10 deals in this criteria exactly in the next 4 months, I'll give you $50,000.
On top of what they make.
Yeah, and I don't know, like whatever number, but that's $5,000 a house. So
Yeah.
I'll give you 20,000, whatever it is. I'll give you $50,000, but I need them in this time frame, and they need to be exactly right. And I'm going to be picky, and you're going to hate me, but they'll be worthwhile for you. Guess who he's going to be calling first? Mm-hmm. Guess who he's going to be working for the next couple months?
And are you just stopping at one, or you building an army out there?
Exactly. We do. It depends. We have a guy here that we're pretty exclusive with. He crushes it.
Well, you're also building.
I know that's the difference. I know. I'm trying
millions in land to build storage.
So I think for that reason, just get. I don't know. It's a tough one. I guess I don't know the right answer there yet. You can play with it.
You would stick with just one and hope that they hooked you up.
It's tough, right? So if you stick with one, you're just having one guy look and not everybody. But if you don't stick with one, then it kind of decentivizes them because they're like, well, he's doing this to a bunch of people, so it's not worth my time. So you just got to be careful. Different market's different. It depends on the broker. You have to build a relationship. You just got to play the personal vibe. See what you feel when you talk to them. Look them in the eyes and see what you see.
Awesome.
So I don't have an exact answer for that one.
There you go. How do we get deals? We talk to people. We reach out to ugly houses and we get big checks. Ugly houses, big checks, baby. Derek asks, how do you find storage units on PropStream or Batch Leads when I use mini storage criteria? Nothing comes up. How would you search for storage? Like you said that 95% are owned by mom and pops. Mm-hmm. How would you find out who the owner of a storage unit is and how to reach them?
Yeah, this is the next question.
Yeah, great.
So we are developers, but we still use it. Radius is a self-storage subscription that you pay. It's a pay and play, so you'll pay for credits. Yardi is the more expensive subscription version. So if you're just getting started out, use Radius. It's really affordable, and it's just for self-storage.
What is it?
Radius is when you log in, you'll go, and there'll be a bunch of dots, and the dots are different colors, and you'll have current supply, in planning, built in this year. So you have all of the data. Every self-storage in the whole United States is in this. And it's color-coded for how old it is, if it's in planning, so you can just click one that say, and it tells you the rates, it tells you the square feet, it tells you the contact, the owner, it tells you everything you need to know. So if it's in self-storage, go to Radius, it's affordable, and whether you're buying or developing, everything's in there you need.
And you just call them.
Yeah, just call them.
Say,
I've made a lot of
would you
calls.
consider an offer?
So what we do is we find on-market deals, and then what I do is we go on there and find all the sites in planning, and we just call them all. Like, hey, if you ran out of money or if you want to sell this, we'll arbitrage to the land. We'll buy it from you.
Yeah.
So you can use it for anything in storage.
Radius.com?
Radius self-storage. Yeah, if you do Radius self-storage, it'll pop
Google?
up.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is
you go.
huge.
So use that.
Yeah, it's not guys. It's not a Batch Leads and PropStream type of search. It just doesn't. It just
Different avenue.
They don't have that kind of data. So Radius self storage, boom, that's a huge resource. Look at you.
Yeah, I'm valuable.
Yeah, tools to the toolbox. There we go. Brian, I'm new to this. In the process of getting my first deal. All right, Brian. Has anybody ever had a realtor tell you that they don't do IP? Due diligence, inspection period, due diligence. I can walk through the contract to estimate rehab. Yeah, it happens all the time, Brian. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So it just depends on. Really, it's. There's a couple different things at play there when they don't want you to do. That they don't during the.
I think you don't do the
They
inspection
don't do
period.
it. They don't want an inspection period. They want it to be. Yeah, usually if the price is right and they're getting multiple offers, they're going to just take the best offer and they're going to remove all the contingencies. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to guarantee if you're going to commit to it that you're going to close on it or you're going to lose your earnest money. That's what they're trying to do. And if the price is right, they can do that. If they have multiple offers, they can do that. If you're the only offer, you have room to negotiate. But if there's multiple offers, you got to play by their rules. And usually they're going to take off some of those contingencies.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yep. Awesome. How long does it take to develop and get a self-storage?
Rolling?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do about 12 months. We buy a lot, 12 months to get it zoned and shovel ready, we call it. And then it goes to our construction crew. They grab the lot, they build the building with subcontractors, and then CO. So you're talking about a 2-year period. In California, it's probably 3 to 4 years from purchase agreement closing on the lot to CO, doors open. Mm-hmm. And then that's when we give it to public to run. And it takes on average, it takes 3 years to get to stabilization. And in the storage, that's about 90%. But ours are in about a year and a half because our locations, right? We spend more money on dirt, so there's value.
Joel, so how many years would you say you spent on the farm? Still is.
Yeah, I go back every summer. I'm heading back in May. Big farmer here. Full-time farming was up till 2014, so I would have been about 20, 21 years old full-time. So my whole life till 21.
You grew up on the farm?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so till 21.
What brought you to Arizona?
My family's been coming here since the 30s, 40s, in the winters. After farming, everybody would come here, so it's like my second home.
Gotcha.
This is I'm sure that this is on everybody's mind.
My why, I would say, now my why is different, right? My why now is a 4, 2, and a 7-month-old kids, the 3 boys. They're my new why. My job right now is just to make sure they're the best people they can be, and I want to create a legacy. Legacy for me is important. It's not about really the money anymore. But growing up, I don't know what it was. When you have 6 siblings, they're all amazing at stuff. So when I started out, it was like, I want to do something so big so my parents notice me. It's like a normal middle child 6 sibling thing. So my why has changed, but today it's very clean. It's a clean, positive why. Back in the day, maybe it was a little bit more.
Yeah, but wouldn't your family live with you in a trailer?
They would.
Wouldn't they live with you in a van?
You're right.
You know what I mean? There's something deeper there.
You're right.
You're thinking you could stop. You could stop right now.
I know.
So why keep going?
Because I want to teach my kids that whatever your passion is, whether it's playing the violin or being an electrician or a teacher, whatever it might be, or a farmer, it's not about the money, it's about passion. So if I sat and sold out, because they know I'm passionate, I love this as much as I love them, and it's amazing, it's my passion.
Yeah.
So if I stopped, gave up now, and sold everything, what does that show them?
Right.
So it's not about the money, it's about following my passion. If I was a violinist, I would not quit either, and I wouldn't be making as much. So I want to teach my kids that passion, follow it, whether money's there or not.
Be the example.
Be the example.
I opened up my show, my live show yesterday, talking about the 7 gifts given to Adam in Genesis, right? And first one, obviously, being creation. He, was born or made and created. And second was a brain, right, to have dominion over the beasts. And third is God's presence. And fourth was work.
Yep.
Fourth
That's
was,
interesting.
Fourth was you need to what's
like
the writes the word? Yeah. So we are made for work.
Yeah.
We are designed for work.
But you
need
love
to
it.
cultivate your garden.
Yes.
So what's your garden? What's your garden?
Yeah.
What's the garden that you're going to prove to your family and your friends and your kids that you're cultivating? And are you going to be an example of that? Or are you going to be in a cog in somebody else's garden?
Exactly. Just be
For
happy.
real.
Don't
I
chase
mean, and
money.
maybe that makes you happy. But I don't think on this channel. I don't think
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
people that are watching this, everybody wants that financial freedom. And I think work is I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, what is the why? What is the purpose? Like, what is the I would be crazy. I get so itchy after the weekend. Like, it's like morning on Sunday, and I'm like, I need.
I'm like that. My grandpa used to tell me idle hands are the hands of the devil.
That's
So
it.
I try to keep
That's
him busy
it.
with something I love,
Yep.
right?
Yep. Awesome. Here you go. Wait. Oh, lost it.
It's the same question.
It was. Okay. Arthur, can you help me with a lame mindset block I'm having? Haha. I feel like being in Phoenix market as a newbie is very intimidating based on how many ballers we have in Phoenix. Yeah, Arthur, come join us. Come meet us. Tell them.
Yeah, come to our meetup April 5th. I want you to understand, I can understand more than it probably comes across. Being young, being in an industry like this, I came in with no connections. So I was able to get to where I was by surrounding myself with guys like Brent, Steve, Jamil, Pace, all these guys. So come to our meetup April 5th. We're real humans. We'll show you, and guess what? Tell me what you're looking for. I'll introduce you to whoever it is that you need because they're going to be there. And we like to do a little game at the end when we do all of our speeches where I make sure that you know who you need to connect with, and everybody else knows we have name tags and everything. So
Tell them when and where and how to find the details.
it is April 5th at El Jefe's Tacos and Sushi in Tempe off the 101 and what is it, University? University.
Is it on your Instagram?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram. We've got Brent Daniels and Alex Sines coming to speak.
Guys, if you're getting value out of that, hit that like button. I want to have over 200 likes. Where are we at now? I haven't said that. I want over 200
Manifest that.
because listen, the more likes it gets exposed, the more exposed it gets, the bigger audience, we get the best people on the show. And I want to bring everybody here so that you can ask him questions like you're asking Andrew here and really pick his brain and really figure out what makes him tick, what makes this real. You know what I mean? $60 million
28.
at 28 years old, and that's like
There's some farmland too, though.
Yeah, well, I know.
I'm just kidding.
No. I mean, I think it's
really inspiring.
I think it's in what your plan is. This is like seed money.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I agree. And I think,
And by the way, real quick, how much money do you have raised for your self-storage domination?
$250 million. So 225, but we got our 40. So we'll be a little over $250 million here by the end, the next few months. So we're at like
You guys hear that?
$225 million right now.
This is real.
Billion.
This isn't. Listen. This isn't. Just some simple. Simple guy here that does a couple flips and
Pretty simple.
Well, you
I
know what I mean. This is big. This is big. This is
business.
big mind, big plans, big vision, and it's incredible. It's incredible to have you on here.
I think
So.
it's another why, though. It's like, my why now is like I want to bring value to whomever I can, just to, whatever that means. That's a good why, too, is to help
for
others
sure.
right now with whatever I can do that, with,
Sure.
through.
I think that's the one thing that's like really inspiring too, is like as you like get and accumulate all the money, it's like your why, it's not really even focused on the
Yes.
money. It's about impact and value for others.
Correct.
So even kind of going back to that other question, it's like all the people that are in these competitive markets, all these guys that are crushing their industries, you just got to ask them. You got to find a way to bring them value or get in their world. You'd be surprised what then starts to transition for your own life.
Correct. And that's a big thing, too, is just employees. And that's another thing is they come in with a zero net worth. Now they're a millionaire.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah. And by the way, that the guy that you cold called, that you bought pie for,
Gary?
is invested in your company now.
Correct. Yeah, he finally did. 8 months ago, he said yes. That was great. I blacked out when I asked him, like I was asking my wife to marry me.
Significant investments, okay? What's another piece of advice from your billionaire friend that you could be helpful for real estate, from Julian?
Focus and vertical integration, 100%. So real estate's such a broad term.
So give us a vertical integration example if we wanted to flip houses.
Great. So when you go in, let's say you're flipping houses, and let's say you are currently hiring a general contractor to do that. You're not doing the subs direct. Let's say that's a fact.
Yeah.
On smaller properties like that, you're probably paying like a 15, 20% GC fee.
Yep.
On big properties like ours, we're paying 6, 7. So my point is, it's like this whole owning your own construction company, hiring your own project manager and going direct, having your own superintendents. And let's say you're doing a bunch of properties. And if you're not there yet, remember, find out how many you need to do to get there and then get there. If you don't know the answer, figure out what it is and then get there if you don't have the volume yet. But that is an example of vertical integration, because think about it. If you're doing $1 million a year and you cut out 20% of the remodel, that's another $200,000 in your pocket. Now you got some salaries and stuff, but there's probably still net 100 as an example of vertical. And then when you get really big, let's say you're buying a lot of faucets. Let's say you're buying a lot of sheetrock. Open a company or go and negotiate better pricing to start. There's just so many ways to save money. Look at your expense list and dissect every single one and ask, how much money do they make on that when they sell it to me? Ask yourself that and say, how can I either do it or get them to do it less?
For sure.
Love it.
And I think the first vertical integration that a lot of people do is they go from like wholesaling to fix and flip.
Yes.
Once you know how to source the deal and you can actually start to profit by taking down and rehabbing them, that's when the real money starts to come. And that's just one good example of vertically integrating.
Yep. He wants us to look at the cow. Nate, both contracts on my properties are about 10 to 20K overpriced. Any suggestions for finding buyers or renegotiating? From Nate. Yeah, Nate, if you went overpriced on it, you have to get a price reduction. And you literally have, there's a couple different ways to do this. You can go aggressive or you can go passive, right? You can go aggressive and just say, hey, I need to cancel the contract. Where should I send the cancellation? And you talk to the seller that way. And then they're like, wait, what happened? And you're like, I actually did the numbers wrong and I can't buy it at this price, right? You can go that route, or you can go the other route that's like, listen, based on this property has more repairs than I expected. The numbers don't make sense. I can close this deal. We can still make this happen, but I need to get it $20,000 less, right? So there's a couple different ways that you can go about it there. And by the way, listen, don't beat yourself up for this. It happens to everybody. This is a great learning experience. Now you know the prices that it works, so it's a really big feather in your cap for your future. So either way, you're going to win on this situation. Now, I don't want you going and just locking everything up and canceling a bunch of times, just because it's just not good business practice. But it's good learning every once in a while if you're going to try to go after a property and you're not really sure on the valuation, but you lock it up anyway to see what will happen. But and Nate, this is assuming that you got really loud about this deal and you talk to everybody. You're like on the phone all day long, calling every single real estate agent, every single buyer that you have, and putting this in front of them. I'm not just saying, oh, I sent it out in an email blast and nobody wants it. I'm saying pick up the phone and call everybody, text everybody, get as loud as possible about that deal, because maybe somebody just didn't see it.
Yep.
Right? And if you go through all of that and you're having these conversations, go to those buyers and say, what price will you buy this? Well, I'll buy it at 155. Okay, great. Now you know you've got a buyer at 155. Don't go in and get a price negotiation and you can't close on that deal and you have to go try to resell it and nobody wants it still. Now you have to get a double price reduction or cancel. The seller's going to be super pissed, like really, really, really pissed.
And it's a small industry.
Yeah.
So don't ruin your name.
Make sure that you have a buyer for that deal. Make sure that you have a buyer for that deal before you ask for the price reduction. That's why I want you to call everybody up and say, what price does this make sense?
Boom. You've done a couple deals.
Yeah.
Just
done
a
a few.
couple.
All right, from Sandra. Question is Zillow plus Redfin plus Realtor ARV equals divide by 3% equals the ARV. That hurt my brain.
Yeah, no, this is mine.
I get it, but I have no
This
idea.
is for me.
Okay.
This is for me. So, if you don't have PropStream to really, a PropStream or batch leads to really get the nitty gritty on the comparables in that area, this is the best route.
Oh, you're saying divide the three of them.
So
with
what
the
you do is you're
ARVs.
trying to get an idea of what the value of this property is. So you look at those three websites, add them together, divide by three. That's the average pricing that the algorithm is telling you with those companies. And then if you want to keep it real simple, Matt, will you put the 665025 on? And then if you want to get an estimate based on that, if it's above 250,000, offer them 66%. If it's between 250 and 150%, and if it's under 100,000, offer them 25% of whatever that number is, and you're going to be pretty close.
There you go. From Lock Streamer. What do you think of the Southern California market? Which house price is averaged $700,000 to $800,000 per house?
We build self-storage there, but don't know much about housing.
Okay.
Yeah, housing out there is tough. I still have a lot of people I know that crush it in California, so the opportunities are there. But yeah, it's just higher price points.
Listen to me, Lock Streamer. Vacant land. Vacant land or land that has a teeny house on it that has a lot, that there's way higher and better use for that property. That's what you want to get really good at that. You want to find those weird pieces of land that are all, it's all overgrown, or there's junk everywhere, or, it's a house and you're like, wait, is this a double lot? What's going on with this? Those are the people that you really want to go after. And literally, I would find the 1,000 ugliest houses in your market, 1,000, and be obsessed with them. Call them, door knock them, text them, mail them, whatever you need to do. DM them on Facebook or Instagram, whatever you need to do to get a hold of those 1,000, because you will do 20 to 30 deals in those 1,000. It's just the numbers. But the ugliest houses. There you go.
From Gabriel. Are there significant differences in how I would comp single-family homes versus multifamily units? Yes. So single-family homes, I mean, obviously, Brent just went through the formula for that. Multifamily, a lot of times you're going to want to ask for like a pro forma. You want to know what the vacancy is. You want to know all the details of what the property needs renovations, rent rate, so on and so forth. And then obviously know your buyers and what kind of return they're looking for. So
when you went to raise money, you had to show them the income,
Yes.
right? That's what he was basing it off of?
You're correct.
Was he looking at what did other apartments sell for in the area?
Yeah, you look at the cap rates and the commonality between them. It's been a while now.
Yeah.
But I think we were mostly looking at the upside because at the time, the oil boom was coming. You could clearly see it. So that's what I said is like in the 80s, history's repeating itself. Like this is cheap right now. So, I mean, but yeah, in a normal scenario, correct. Yeah, you look at the comps.
Judd, what percentage do you guys recommend deducting when a house has fire damage?
I think it's like 20-25% you buy it at, something like that.
Yeah, it just depends, Judd.
Depends on how much the fire
It
damage
depends
was.
on what part of the house is burnt.
Right.
It's a lot more expensive replacing a kitchen and bathroom than it is a bedroom. And typically, most fires in a house are going to happen in the kitchen. So find out where that's at, and then I would, depending on what market you're at, find out the square footage that was burnt and times that by $150 a square foot. It's high. You might not have to go that high, but I want you on the high side on that so that you can negotiate and get a really good deal. But remember, they're getting an insurance check for that, right? So they're getting paid for that. So are they going to repair it? Or are they going to take that insurance, pay off the debt, move on, and buy something else? Or are they going to fix it up themselves and stay in that property? Most people leave, but find out what their strategy is with it. But 100 to 150 depends on your market.
Sure. From Doris, how do I find hedge fund real estate agents? It's a great question. I would go into a Facebook group and I'd just post and I'd say, hey, is there anybody that specializes in working with hedge funds? The other thing that I found that works for us is that there's a lot of other wholesalers and investors that do have those relationships. Just like I mentioned a minute ago about getting your foot in the door to the bigger players, go to the guys that have the relationships, squat up with them, bring them the opportunities, and guess what? I mean, you'll start to find out really quickly which hedge funds are best, and then you'll find your way in the door to the hedge fund.
Perfect. Crushing it.
Okay, from Eric Perry. Last question. By the way, I use batch skip tracing, and I've done about 45 deals total. Want to start getting into cabins, but results show 0 in prop stream. How do I find a list of cabins? My approach might be different than the two of them, but it's going to be going to realtors, just like what my entire strategy is. These are the guys that are going to be coming across it. You post exactly where you're looking for these cabins to be. Put it on these the radars for the realtors. They'll start bringing you the opportunities, and then just tell them. I love how you said it. You set the right expectation. You're going to tell them, hey, look, it may not be fun. It may not be easy. We may not get a lot of these accepted, but this is what I'm looking for, and it's this specific buy box.
Albert?
Same thing. Cabin communities are small and few and far between, so everyone in a cabin community are going to know each other. So, I mean, you talk to someone, and they're like, oh, yeah, he's selling. He's going to sell this one in about a month. I mean, small communities, just like condos. I was just talking with a potential listing here. Everyone is from Calgary, Canada, and this is a condo complex in Scottsdale. Mm-hmm. They literally all travel together now, and the second someone sells a unit, they find someone in their circle, and they're like, you should just buy this from him.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's how these are all
word of mouth.
going.
Oh yeah,
word of mouth.
Love it. And why, Eric? Real quick, unless you bounce, but I'd be real curious to know why you're getting into cabins. I assume it's probably an Airbnb play, which is interesting. Yeah. But if it's an Airbnb play, are you looking for distressed properties, or are you wanting to buy these without the hassle of having to fix them up? You know what I mean? If the numbers make sense, and you can buy them without having to fix them up, they're already fixed up. You can just buy them off the market.
Amen.
You know what I mean? You build a relationship with the agents, and you just buy them off the market. Now, if you want to get it off market and put some in, then I would just skip trace the whole area and filter through the people that want to sell. Like, I wouldn't overthink it. There's only it's not like there's a million cabins in an area. Like, it's going to be smaller communities. Yeah. So if there's 1,000 properties there and 100 of them are cabins, call all 1,000 of them. Somebody that owns a regular house probably owns a cabin, right? Or knows somebody that wants to sell a cabin or something. So oftentimes, you know, we call somebody for just to ask them if they want to consider an offer, and they end up referring us to a whole different deal. So, little Mac, our dog mascot here, is smelling the food outside the studio. It's whining. From IG, I don't wholesale as in assigned contracts or dispo, but I keep everything I've been buying using your technique to get off-market deals. I'm at 16 units now. Nice. Thank you. Come on, are you kidding me?
Let's go.
I love it. Congratulations. That'll turn into 160 real quick, right? That'll turn into 200 real quick. Stay on that path. Fantastic. If you were to have a big portfolio of single or even like smaller multifamily, would you get a manager for it right off the bat, or would you manage it yourself for a while and then bring somebody on?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the vertical integration thing, right? Like, I wouldn't personally do it, but again, you got to figure out, I mean, how many do you have to have your own guy you hire to do it before it doesn't make sense for third parties? So if you, again, figure out that number and get there.
They just work for you.
Just work for you and manage your properties. That's obviously the most efficient, most affordable. The problem is you need a lot of ownership, a lot of volume.
Usually it's 10% is what the management fee is going to be, right? For single family and multifamily on some level, depends on how big it is.
You're going to need $1 million in revenue. Plus, that's $100,000 just to be able to afford someone decent to run it with the staff.
Right.
So
that's
$1
million
on revenue annually.
Rents.
Annually.
Yeah.
Or more. And that's
Right.
where you can add that to your vertical integration play.
So you need to get it to $83,000 a month in rental income, and then start peeling that off and hire somebody.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
But until
what do you
then,
do
don't
until
do it.
then?
Yeah, third party or do it yourself. But I mean, that's taking you away from finding deals
It takes
too.
you
So
away.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
would
huge distraction.
third party
Not
it,
easy.
but set the goal and get there. Again, you're giving money away, so you got to get bigger. Get bigger.
How do you avoid distraction? How do you stay focused? Because you got a bunch of money that you've raised. You could use it for whatever. I
Yeah.
assume. I mean,
I hung when that company went bankrupt. I hung it on my wall so I don't really forget that happened. So
Okay.
that's a little remember.
yeah, but that's reps. That's the it's still kind of fresh. What happens
you're right.
10 years down the line? You forget about that.
You're right.
How do you stay focused? And because in our business, you can do anything, right?
I know.
You can wholesale, you can fix and flip, you can do creative finance deals, you can build your portfolio, you can do development, you can do all these things, right? But if you try to do it all, and I see it all the time, people start and they start finding deals, and then all of a sudden they want to do fix and flip, and all of a sudden their income's gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
You will be who you hang out with.
Yeah.
So surround yourself with the people that one can keep you accountable and or doing what you are doing, and I think that's probably your best long-term
So
solution.
who do you hang out with?
Like Gary Tharoldson's and there's a few guys you don't know the names, but yeah, guys that have done it and do it, and you guys right here, man. You guys are all focused. Just get a good group. Get a mentor group, and you need a celebrity one you don't know, and you need a real one right? Warren Buffett, Gary for me, and then you need people your own age doing your thing that you can surround yourself with too. So there's different groups of surrounding.
And your organization, you really, I mean, how many, if you were to say, okay, in the construction company, in the equipment company, in the garage company, in the sign company, how many employees is that?
Yeah, if we sell off with the insurance which we're selling, we've got 120.
Okay.
But now we'll be down to like 30 to 50 probably now.
Employees.
And then, yep, and everybody in our storage buildings running them is not our employees. I'm
Right.
not counting them. That's
Right.
public storages. So we got about 50 people on our team once we sell off this 80-employee insurance company.
And that's not including the people building
Not the subs. We have about 70 people per day on site. So next year,
Right.
700 subcontractor people heads.
But your
that doesn't include that.
contractor runs them.
Correct.
And
We have a
supervisor.
superintendent per site, and then a project manager runs 4 supers.
So you've got $250,000 and you got 50 people responsible
Pretty
for
cool, right?
growing that.
Yeah.
And you really, on a daily basis, talk to how many?
5 right now. I would do up to 6.
So how do you find the 5 people that you trust enough
Yeah.
to put $250 million? Because it's not just you
Yeah.
going out there and like doing everything, right?
Oh, no.
You have delegated and put different people on different companies, right?
Yeah, they all work harder than me. I'm really fortunate. I mean, I've never had one of them go wrong or leave. Good or bad, I'm not sure, but Luke Stewart, he runs our equipment dealership. Hired him back in 2015. He comes in, he's in the CEO chair. I say, here you go, and I leave. Now, that much trust in someone, they look at me and think like, oh my God, this guy really trusts me. And he has done exactly what he said he would do. So again, that could have went bad.
Yeah.
But I'm very fortunate. I don't know what it is. Maybe, I guess, one of my few talents, I guess, is seeing maybe trust. Trust is big. You cannot buy trust.
No.
Once they have trust, they can be taught usually, as long as they have the passion. So I look at their eyes and I say, what makes you passionate? I would never put Luke Stewart running signs.
Right.
He's passionate about equipment.
Yeah.
And I can see passion and trust. Those are the two most important things. The rest will follow.
Love it. Do you partner up with individuals for self-storage?
Yeah, so that's a cool model of ours. We only have a few shares left, but our whole Abernathey Holdings is what partners with our billionaire partner, and we're 50-50 in all the projects. Well, Abernathey Holdings is 100 investors. I am the largest in one of them, but there's 100 other ones that are passive, and they buy shares in the company.
$300,000 a share, Sooner Ranger.
Yep.
Do you pick? I mean, The interesting thing about this is people aren't getting dividends.
Correct.
People aren't getting money. This isn't something you put money into and all of a sudden you're living off of it with like a passive cash flow.
Yep.
There'll be dividends at some point, but I think that's probably what, 10, 15?
Yeah, I'd say 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we want to make sure we can do one new one every month, and not.
So
and
you're
not
you're
siphon too
finding
much
people that want to put their money away. What do you call it? Patient money?
patient money. There's a lot of money in the world. Very rare do you have patient money. That's what we have a lot of, and that's why last year we had a 50.1% return.
So with something goes crazy, economy goes bananas.
Yeah.
How do you protect yourself, protect your investors?
I keep on keeping on. We do 35% down on our properties. We build them for less. It's self-storage, so actually recessions we do better. But if a president's elected or there's a war that goes on, nothing changes. We just keep going.
Got it.
World will change around us. Remember, focus.
Well, the interesting thing you said there is you put 35% down.
Correct.
So that buffers
Big.
any
And once it
kind of
stabilizes,
dramatic.
then we'll pull some more out. But
Sure.
we'll wait till stabilization. Development's a little riskier because once it's stabilized, pull out down to 25, 30 and lock it up for like 30 years with an insurance company. You know, just fix it up. You can pull out all your cash and then some.
I would assume with as much money as you have sitting in the bank, if
Yeah.
if there was an issue with the market, and you would make a fortune. I mean, you're going to make a fortune anyway.
I
but
don't want to wish upon it, but
Right.
now would be the time for a recession. Let's go. Yeah, for me. I'm very liquid.
do you own the storages or just the land?
All of it. We own the storage facilities and the land. But at the end of the day, land will always be there. I'm a land guy at heart. So in 500 years when that thing's decapitated, that land will always be there. So it's like McDonald's. You don't sell burgers. They're land, real estate guys. So basically, I'm just in land. Just so happens I put self-storage on them for the next 100 years.
Right. And the beautiful thing is the way that you have it structured is different. You're not doing syndication. You're buying into a holding company.
Yep.
That's what these really wealthy people are doing. They're buying into the holding company just for long-term growth. And
Right.
beautiful thing is you're actually putting buildings on this land, which means depreciation, baby.
Yeah.
K1s.
Cost segregation, one of the best things next to mobile home parks. We can do 60% of these builds on 15 years or less. And now that it's COVID, anything 15 years or less, you can do in 1 year. So every building opens, we have $6 million year one to our K1 depreciation. It is phenomenal.
And then you want to do that every month.
Yes, every
Right.
month, $6 million more to our depreciation file. Now, obviously, it'll start with, but still, even if it's over, it's 5, 7, and 15 years. But with COVID, they allow you to do it, in a year, 1 year.
Yep.
All right.
What are your rules for hiring?
Me?
Yeah.
Just trust. You know,
Passion and trust.
I will make you. I always tell my guys, we've made like I think 7 millionaires already, and they came in at 0. The biggest thing for me is, and I only am the guy in charge of these five guys. They've got their people below. I have nothing to do with that. What I just hope that how I treat them and incentivize them, I'm just hoping that's reciprocated. But that is not my place.
Yep.
So for me, it's trust. I will do everything in my power to make sure you are successfully family and work, because both are important, balance. But if you ever cross me, I will make sure it's a life mission to you know, it's not going to be good.
Destroy
You. No, I'm just kidding. Nobody's ever done it, but I scare them a little bit. I'm just kidding. It's hard to say this to a 50-year-old,
He's not
you know.
kidding.
So no, it's trust.
That's awesome. And is it referrals? Is it people that you run across? Are you actively recruiting to find these people? Do you have somebody in your on your team that finds really great talent, or you're just like, listen, I've got my 5 people. You guys build your teams.
You do your way.
I'm going to let you do your thing.
Correct.
I'm going to keep you accountable based on what, the numbers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is what you need to get done. So get her done. I remember I heard Luke Stewart run our equipment dealership, and we're sitting there going over his salary and stuff. And I said what I want to do, and he's like, how many vacation days do I get? I'm like, Luke, if you can accomplish these goals in 1 day a year, I want to take notes. I don't care. So you can do whatever you want. Just get the job done. The rest is your time.
Love it.
He's a workaholic. I love him. He's busy, but yeah.
What are your thoughts on buying land and putting a prefab unit as a STR play?
Short-term rental?
Yeah. Okay. What do you think?
Not my realm. I don't know. I guess more. Let's ask the
Lot-
land guy.
Yeah, a lot of questions. I mean, there's so many questions, right? What's the rental
Right.
potential? What's the
Where's
land
the
cost? Where's the
location?
location? So, I mean, it's all. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I just need a lot more information to say.
We need more storage in our town and would like to get into it. Awesome.
Do it. Get into it.
What
Seriously.
town are you in?
One of them
Sooner
is
Ranger?
Oklahoma,
I
maybe?
assume Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have any of you guys had any experience investing or wholesale in office buildings? I have a crazy opportunity in Midtown Atlanta, Georgia.
I have. I do commercial. And especially Atlanta, that's actually one of our markets. So send it over to us. Brandon will be able to help you out, and then I'll be at the office here after the show, and we'll go through it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, listen, don't overthink it. It's
the same thing, just on a bigger
price or terms, right? It's price or terms. So if you've got a great price, fantastic. Get as loud as possible. Commercial is booming. I mean, everything's booming. There's just a lack of inventory because there's a lack of construction over that 2010 to 2020. Do you mind, Matt? And this is just for houses, but you can pretty much correlate this with kind of all construction over this last decade. But it's very dramatic when you look at homes built by the decade.
Wow.
Look at this, right?
Wow.
As soon as the recession hit, boom, we went down dramatically. And then the beautiful thing is not the beautiful, but the interesting thing, it's not beautiful for anything, wrong words, but 2020 pandemic hits.
Yeah.
Hits construction hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Did not
And
help
then
that.
I mean, so that's what we're feeling right now.
From Jose, what are the fees a wholesaler should pay, or what makes sense to pay a realtor to assign deals for me? The reason I'm saying it is because I'm in Illinois and I did not meet the requirements to get licensed. So if you're referring to I think in Illinois you need to get licensed if you're gonna do more than one transaction a year. Is that correct?
Yeah, but if you're not going to get your license, Jose, I understand. I would partner up with somebody that has a license.
Yep.
And if you're doing like all the work, give them 25%. If they're really working with you, do a 50-50 type thing.
Right.
You know, if they're helping you find the deals and they're helping you sell the deals and it's under their license, that's a lot of value there. That's a lot of value. There's a higher cost to doing business in Illinois than other places because you need a license. So that's just something you're going to have to deal with.
For sure.
Yep.
Kavion. Hey, I'm in Kansas City and I've been doing wholesaling for 6 months, haven't gotten a deal. Should I switch markets? I think there's more to unpack. I'm curious what marketing strategies you're doing and why the results aren't there. How many hours are you putting in? How many offers are you submitting? Conversations, so on and so forth. If you want to throw that back over, let's figure out what went wrong.
Is it you or the market?
Right. From Julian. I am contacting 4 people per hour of cold calling. I know you say it should be 10 to 12 per hour. What am I doing wrong? Same thing.
Well, 2 things. One, are you using
dialer?
a dialer? That'll help you a whole lot, and I assume that you are. If you are, you need, and this is a conversation I had with Ivo Dragunov, which is the owner of Batch and Batch Dialer, and he just went to this whole inbound, outbound calling convention, right? And they're saying after 150 calls, you need to switch your number, which is every hour.
Wow.
They're saying in some of them you need 60 caller ID numbers minimum to swap throughout the week.
Wow.
Okay. Well, it costs $2 for a number.
Yeah.
Right. So the
Still,
cost of
though,
doing business again is going up.
It just shows you that there's so much transition happening too in
The
that
carriers.
space.
It's the carriers.
Yeah.
Yep. And listen to this: if you call the same address, you call the same number 4 times, and they don't answer, they will block that. The carriers will block it. That's why I said don't call through a list more than twice. Just call through it twice. Move on. Right? They will block it if you're using that same caller ID. That's what's going on, Julian. It's the filters that the phone carriers are having. So there's a couple different strategies there, Julian, so that you don't get too frustrated. I highly suggest that you follow these guys' lead. It's also something that I've been talking about since 2017. You need to reach out to real estate agents. Okay, pick up the phone and just call them. Like, you don't have to put them in a dialer. You can put them in a dialer. You can go to Dr. Bill's real estate agent list, right? And you can get all their phone numbers, put it into a dialer and call them and have those good conversations. But that's a commercial number. When you're a real estate agent and you put your phone number out there, it's a commercial number. It's way different than a private number.
They're not on Do Not Call.
So start adding that into it. Caleb. Hey, Brent, how do you comp in Texas without seeing sold comps? I don't see anybody ever talking about it. Two things, Caleb. Number one is you can get a pretty good idea of what's happening in a market by seeing what's active and what's pending on the markets. So that really helps. You can really do a good job with Redfin. You do a really good job with Batch Leads and with PropStream, right? The other thing is you have to, if you are in a non-disclosure state and they don't show you what properties have sold for, you have to have a real estate agent on your team. And I'm not saying somebody that's like literally like in the office with you or like whatever, but you need to have somebody that you can refer business to, because you're going to talk to a lot of people, and a lot of those people are going to want retail. That's who you refer them over to. Reciprocation is, hey, they give you access to the MLS and or they run comps for you and say, hey, listen, this is what I think this property would sell for fixed up. It is critical in non-disclosure states, guys. Stop hiding behind a keyboard. Get on your phone and call those real estate agents. Take Andrew's story of calling a billionaire, a whole list of the 10 wealthiest people, one of them answered, right? Going into a bank and just go with that confidence that you are, like, if you believe that you can provide an unbelievable amount of value to that real estate agent's career, they will work with you and for you forever. Forever.
Loyalty.
That is the whole thing. But if you don't believe that you're giving them any value and you're just taking, or getting in that position, it's not going to work. So you got to send them opportunities. You got to educate them on what you're doing. You got to tell them what you're looking for. And I love your idea. They bring you a deal, give them an extra $5,000 on top of what they're already getting paid from commissions.
Literally, though.
You'll blow their mind.
That's brilliant.
You'll blow their mind.
Yep. Don't be stingy there.
Yep.
Good question on fragment. I think this one. So
That's you.
What I mean by that is there's industries, right? And you have industries such as storage, for example, where 95% is owned by a bunch of people, a conglomerate, one each, right? Multiple. So fragmented. It's not consolidated. A little story. So what's his name on The Prophet? Jamarcus Lemonis. He had a mentor tell him the same thing. You need to consolidate a fragmented industry. So he went and found a bunch of RV retailer dealers, and there was a bunch of them, it was fragmented, and he went, grabbed them all and created a thing like RV US, whatever, and consolidated the RV dealership market. And that's how he made his billions. As an example, Subway, same thing. There's so many stories. So fragmented basically just means there's a bunch of owners in a market and you want to come in and put it all together.
There you go.
What is the Subway story?
Well, I'm pretty sure Subway, so he asked his billionaire friend, like, what should I do? He's like, open a sub shop. There's so many sub shops. It's all fragmented. He's like, make a brand, make it fresh, do it, everybody can see it. So he created Subway and really consolidated the sandwich market or whatever it is.
Look at that.
So it's a interesting story.
That's awesome. Guys, hit that like button. We've got 10 more minutes here. Hit that like button if you're getting value today. Jeez Louise, I'll tell you what. Lockstreamer, what advice can you give for a 21-year-old, no money, no experience, starting to get a real estate license, to newbie to wholesale or real estate agent? What steps should I take in order to become a millionaire in 10 years?
So my thoughts there is the biggest things, like find the jobs that you can make the most per hour to build up the cash, treasure chest to do things. So like bartending, being a realtor, anything that you can earn money quicker by working really hard and being really good at it to pile the cash. Again, it's a lot of work, but it's short time. Bartending's nice because it's after hours, so you can do it as a second thing. And Mark Cuban really took advantage of that when he was trying to grow his wealth. So like I said, don't exchange your time for a low hourly wage if you want to be a millionaire to start. Try to find those things where you can make a lot per hour if you put the time in, build the cash treasure chest, and then put it into something that can be passive in. That's my thoughts.
No, I love that answer. With me, I think mine's pretty direct, but it's don't hang out with losers. At a young age, don't go party. You don't need the bottle service. You don't need to go travel a bunch. You don't need the watches, the cars, the luxury house. Live lean. House hack. If you really want to take a level up, buy a house. Find a way. I promise you, even after hearing Andrew's story, you could find a way to buy a house right now. You go in, you rent out the rooms to your friends. Now you're living for either minimal or you're living for free even, hopefully. Then that house is appreciating. You got the depreciation on the taxes. There's so many benefits to just surrounding yourself with people that are going to level you up. So
do they still have that first-time home buyer credit where you can like put minimal down?
Yeah.
And you can buy a quadplex with that, right? So why not? So
FHA,
you get 1 credit, I believe, for your first home time you buy a home. So why buy a single family when you can go buy a quadplex or a sixplex?
Literally.
It's the first time. So you can do it with almost no cash. And you have a 4 sixplex and you live in one for free. So just that on steroids.
The max is 4 units.
Is it 4? Okay,
Yeah,
I was
on
curious.
a
But still.
FHA loan.
FHA, yeah.
It's an idea.
3.5% down. And also, too,
That's the Arnold Schwarzenegger deal.
Yep.
That's his model.
Is it?
Yeah, he house hacked forever in California.
I love that.
awesome.
And it shouldn't take you 10 years, too. Like, if you really double down and you focus and you're around heavy hitters and people that are like-minded, I promise you take the strategy he also said to build the treasure chest, give yourself 5 years.
Yeah, do an Elon Musk. Say, here's my goal in 50 years. How can I do it in 2 days? You know, he just
Right.
that's all he does.
Seriously. I love that.
That's great. Getting sticky on the questions.
If you're dialing 1,500 people a day with a good list and good data, how long do you think it will take to get a deal?
You get a deal every 200 conversations. If you're having good quality conversations, you should be getting a deal out of 1 out of every 200 of those conversations. There you go. Okay, so it's not. And listen, I'm talking about actual conversations with the owners, right? With the owners of the property, not their tenant, not their aunt, not their cousin, like the actual owners, having that conversation with and asking them if they would consider an offer. And then from there, the issue, Daniel, is it takes 90 days of consistently doing this, consistently talking, consistently building up your pipeline of leads and opportunities, and then all of a sudden it starts going. So that 90 days is like the biggest, that tears most people up because they're like, oh, you know what, it's just not working. People do that after like 2 days, let alone 90 days. If you can do this, if you could really push through and go with a lot of energy and a lot of optimism and a lot of positivity and a lot of enthusiasm about what you're doing here and how you're changing your life, you have to become a person that does deals. Right?
Yep.
You become by doing the work. The work works on you more than you work on it. Right? So all of that experience, all those people telling you no, all those people telling you that you're the millionth caller or whatever else, or get a job or, you know, whatever it is, ignore all that noise. Like, insulate yourself. You have to have rhino thick skin. Right? That's why we have rhinos everywhere in this
I thought you were calling me
studio.
a rhino. I was like,
No. You're Ryan. Yeah. Yeah. No, but for real, you just keep it going that 90 days. That is the make or break. That's what really shows what Andrew's talking about here. Do you have the passion for real estate? Because if you have the passion for real estate and you don't have a big bank account to start with, even if you do, I think that you should go out there and earn it yourself. But you need to be the person. Who do you need to be? Who's already doing those things that you want to do, and what did they do? Right? I guarantee you they went through this process. And the beautiful thing about it is you can look back 3-5 years from now, and that'll be one of the best memories that you have because you fucking earned it. You earned it. That is so incredible. You cultivated your garden.
Talk about confidence, right?
Yep.
Confidence compounds like money.
Yep.
there you go. Pure gold today.
Pure gold today.
Love it.
Definitely.
That's it. Frankenstein.
Right.
That's okay. I love it. I love it, guys. What are we at for likes? 107. Let's keep it going. If you're just there on your phone, hit that like button, guys. It really helps us out. Do you guys have any network or any event that will happen in Southern California soon this year?
I've got connections in Southern California, so just send me a message on Instagram and I'll connect you with them. As for networking events and stuff, I have got a few friends that put on events. I don't know the scheduling behind it. I think it's just kind of spontaneous. Send us a message.
Listen, Southern California is a half-day trip to Tempe, Arizona for April
5th.
It's going to be a fantastic. I will be there.
We're going to have like probably a couple hundred people minimum.
Albert will be there.
gonna be
Ryan
fun.
will be there. Everybody will be there. Might
Andrew will be there.
Maybe.
might be worth your time.
Put my calendar.
From Southern California, I have done that trip in 24 hours. I remember I woke up at 3 in the morning, 6-hour drive to LA. I went to a bodybuilding expo show, right? Stayed there for the day and drove back. And I was home at 2:30 in the morning the next
Yeah.
day. I didn't even have a hotel, nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely possible.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep. Last question. I appreciate the three of you for sharing so much information. Super informative. What is the mindset should I have in this field? How do I face rejections? How do you face rejections?
Man, I don't know. I guess I just don't have any emotion. I'm just kidding. I don't know. You know, you you keep going, and then all of a sudden you get enough yeses that carries you through the no's, and once you get better and better, the no's get less and less, and I don't know, just believe in yourself. You should be your biggest supporter yourself. I mean, if you're not your own supporter, well, who's gonna be? So that's a tough one, I guess. I don't know what the answer is though.
I mean, a great answer.
For sure. Yeah, with me, it's go for the no. At the beginning, you have to get comfortable talking to random people. You got to get comfortable knowing that you are going to find what you look for and what you're out there searching for on a daily basis. You got to get comfortable looking for the no and understanding that one no is getting you closer to the yes. And all it takes, as we always say, is it takes one deal to truly change your life and also to get the proof of concept, which is the first step inside that chart. Do a deal.
Yep. Work involves becoming. That's it. Who do you want to be? Seriously, who do you want to be? Because the faster that you can get rejection, the faster that you can go through that, the faster that you can learn how to communicate more effectively, how to really understand what people are thinking when you're talking to them and when you say certain things, how they're responding to you, the faster that you can get all of those skills and build that up, you become a different person.
Yep.
Work involves becoming. So it's just putting in the work. We got to work anyway, right? All of our brains, every person in this audience has a special brain that says, I don't want to be average. I don't want somebody controlling my schedule. I don't want to be worried and stressed about money all the time. I don't want to be worried about inflation and always be feeling like the sky's falling. Everybody feels that. Everybody has that fire in their belly that is watching this, or you wouldn't. You'd be watching some entertainment, right? You wouldn't be trying to get instruction. You wouldn't be trying to get education. You'd be watching entertainment, right? So work. Just work. Just work and work and work and work and get rejected as fast as you can, because that's how you get there, where you want to go faster.
Yeah, fun
for
with
sure.
it. It's okay to get rejected.
Yeah.
Fun with it.
Yeah,
Make a
right.
joke out of
What
it.
are they going to do?
Lighten it.
You call somebody up and they're like, that's it. I'm keeping you on the phone long enough and it's connected to a computer and then I got you exactly your location. And then they drive over to your house and then they knock on the door and you answer the door and they shoot you in the face. That's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, that's not that bad.
I hate it when that happens.
just kidding.
It takes 9 no's to get 1 yes, for sure. It takes 199 no's to get 1 yes in our business. Yep. Awesome nuggets. Thanks for sharing the value you guys provide. Thank you guys for joining us. We love you all. Join us next week. It's going to be a fantastic episode. Go out there and talk to people. Go out there and do a deal. And then do this business full time, and then buy the assets and get rid of the debt and to get financial freedom. We love you guys. Andrew, thank you for being on here.
Thank you. It was an
That
honor.
was
Thank you.
phenomenal.
It was an honor.
We love you guys. We'll see you next week.
I ran up a check, I might do it again. Enemies close, had me thinking they're friends. 10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took so many years, I'm just waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up,